Have you ever felt like life's twists and turns make no sense? Like every closed door, every unanswered prayer is a sign you're lost. What if those moments aren't mistakes, but part of a divine plan guiding you toward a purpose greater than you can imagine? Let's explore a story that will inspire you to trust, even when the path feels uncertain. Life doesn't always make sense. One moment, you're full of hope, chasing dreams, and the next, you're facing a closed door or a painful loss. You wonder, why me? Why now? It feels like God has turned away, leaving you in the dark. But here's the truth: God is always working, even when you can't see it. His plan is bigger than your pain, weaving every moment into a story of purpose. Think of a tapestry. Up close, it's a mess of threads, but from afar, it's a masterpiece. That's your life in God's hands. When Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, he couldn't see the palace waiting for him. Yet, every hardship was a step towards saving a nation. Your struggles aren't random, they're part of a divine design. Trust that God sees what you don't. He's guiding you step by step toward a future filled with hope. Fear is a powerful force. It whispers doubts, telling you you're not enough, that your problems are too big, or that God has forgotten you. But faith is stronger. Faith doesn't mean you'll never feel afraid. It means choosing to trust God despite the fear. Remember Peter, who walked on water toward Jesus. As long as his eyes were on the Savior, he defied the impossible. But when he focused on the storm, he sank. Life's storms will rage. Job losses, broken relationships, or unanswered prayers, but they don't have the final say. God does. When fear creeps in, lift your eyes to Him. He's the one who calms seas and moves mountains. You don't need to know every answer to move forward. You just need to trust the one who does. Choose faith over fear and watch God make a way where there seems to be none. Pain is never easy. Whether it's a betrayal, a failure, or a season of waiting, it can feel like God is silent. But what if your pain has a purpose? God doesn't waste your tears. Every trial is a tool He uses to shape you, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare you for what's ahead. Job lost everything: his wealth, his family, his health, but he clung to God. In the end, God restored him, not just to his former life, but to something greater. Your struggles are refining you, burning away doubt and building trust. They're not meant to break you, but to make you. God is with you in the fire, molding you into the person He created you to be. So hold on. Your pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a testimony that will inspire others. We live in a world that demands instant results. Waiting feels like failure and delays feel like denial. But God's timing is perfect. What seems like a setback is often His way of setting you up for something greater. Abraham waited years for the son God promised. Yet in that waiting, his faith grew stronger. God wasn't late. He was preparing Abraham for a miracle that would change history. When you pray and don't see answers, trust that God is working behind the scenes. He's aligning people, places, and opportunities for His purpose. A closed door isn't rejection, it's protection. A delay isn't denial, it's preparation. Let go of your timeline and embrace God's. He's never failed, and He won't start now. His plans for you are good, and they'll unfold when the time is right. True peace doesn't come from a perfect life or answered prayers. It comes from trusting God. When you surrender your fears, your plans, and your need for control, God fills your heart with a peace that nothing can shake. The disciples were terrified in a storm, but Jesus was calm, asleep in the boat. Why? Because He knew who was in control. You don't have to carry the weight of worry. Lay it at God's feet. He promises to be your refuge, your strength, and your guide. When life feels chaotic, rest in His promises. He's working all things for your good, even when you can't see it. Surrender isn't giving up. It's giving over to a God who loves you and has a plan beyond your wildest dreams. Trust Him and find peace that lasts. Control is an illusion. We plan, we strive, we try to shape our lives, but one unexpected moment can change everything. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting God's hands over your own. When you cling to your plans, you carry a burden you weren't meant to bear. But when you release them to God, you find freedom. Think of Hannah, who prayed desperately for a child. She could have grown bitter in her waiting, but instead she surrendered her desire to God. In her surrender, God gave her Samuel, a prophet who changed a nation. Your greatest strength lies in trusting God's wisdom over your own. Let go of the need to understand every step. God's plan is unfolding, even in the moments you feel stuck. He's preparing you for a purpose you can't yet see, and His love will carry you through. God's promises are like anchors in a storm. They hold you steady when life feels shaky. He promises to be your strength, your guide, and your hope, no matter what you face. These aren't empty words, they're eternal truths. When the Israelites wandered in the desert, God promised a land of milk and honey. Despite their doubts, He led them there. You might be in a wilderness now, feeling lost or forgotten, but God hasn't forgotten His promises to you. His word never fails. Even when life contradicts what you believe, hold fast. Your circumstances don't define God's faithfulness. His character does. Trust that He's working. Even when the promise feels far off, every step you take in faith brings you closer to His plan. His promises are your foundation, unshaken by the storms of life. See, clouds your vision and makes you question God's goodness. When life doesn't go as planned, it's easy to wonder if God is really there, but doubt only grows when you feed it. Instead, feed your faith. Look at Thomas, who doubted Jesus' resurrection until he saw proof. Yet Jesus met him in his doubts, showing him the scars. God meets you in your questions too. He doesn't turn away when you struggle to believe. He draws closer. Replace doubt with truth. God is faithful. His plans are good, and He's with you always. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of His past faithfulness. Every answered prayer, every moment of provision is proof He won't fail you now. Choose to believe and let faith rise above your doubts, guiding you toward His purpose. Waiting feels like a punishment, but it's a gift in disguise. It's where God shapes your character, deepens your trust, and prepares you for His blessings. Sarah laughed when God promised her a son in her old age. She couldn't see how it was possible. But God wasn't limited by her timeline or her doubts. In the waiting, He strengthened her faith, and Isaac's birth was a miracle that echoed through generations. Your waiting season isn't wasted. It's a time of growth, where God aligns everything for His perfect plan. Embrace the wait, knowing He's working behind the scenes. What you're praying for may not come today, but it's coming in His time. Trust that the delay is building something beautiful, a faith that stands firm and a future that glorifies Him. Stepping into the unknown takes courage. When God called Moses to lead His people, Moses felt unqualified, afraid of failure. But God didn't ask for perfection. He asked for obedience. I will be with you, He promised, and that was enough. Today, God makes the same promise to you. You don't need to see the whole path to take the next step. Faith means moving forward, even when the way is unclear. Every time you choose courage over fear, you align with God's plan. The world may tell you to stay safe, to avoid risks, but God calls you to trust Him and step out. He's already gone before you, preparing the way. Take that step, however small, and watch Him turn your obedience into a story of triumph. Obedience isn't always easy. It often means saying yes to God when everything inside you wants to say no. But every act of obedience is a seed planted for a greater harvest. When Noah was told to build an ark, the world mocked him. There was no sign of rain, yet he trusted God's word. His obedience saved his family and fulfilled God's plan. Your small steps of faith, choosing to trust, to forgive, to keep going, matter more than you know. God doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for a willing heart. When you obey, even in uncertainty, you align with His purpose. The world may not understand, but God sees your faithfulness. Each step you take in obedience builds a legacy of trust, leading you closer to the life He's designed for you. The wilderness is a lonely place. It's where dreams feel distant and God seems silent. But even in the wilderness, God is near, shaping your heart for what's to come. The Israelites wandered for years, yet God provided manna, guided them with a cloud, and never left their side. Your wilderness, whether it's grief, failure, or waiting, isn't a punishment. It's a season of preparation. God is teaching you to rely on Him, to find hope when all seems lost. In those quiet moments, listen for His voice. He's whispering promises of a future filled with purpose. Hold on to hope, for the wilderness is not your destination. It's a path to the promised land. Trust that God is leading you, even when the way feels unclear. You are never alone. No matter how dark the night or how heavy the burden, God's presence is your strength. When David faced Goliath, he wasn't armed with worldly power, but with the assurance that God was with him. That same God walks with you through every battle. His presence turns fear into courage, weakness into strength, and despair into hope. When life feels overwhelming, pause and remember the Creator of the universe is by your side. He's not distant or distracted. He's near, guiding your steps. Lean into His presence. Let it anchor you when the storms rage. You don't need to carry the weight alone because God is with you, fighting for you, and leading you to victory. The unknown can be terrifying. We want answers, a clear path, a map of what's ahead. But God often calls us to trust Him without seeing the full picture. When Esther was asked to approach the king to save her people, she faced an uncertain outcome. Yet she trusted God, saying, "If I perish, I perish." Her faith turned a moment of fear into a miracle. Your unknowns, new beginnings, tough choices, or unanswered questions are opportunities to trust God. He sees the end from the beginning. What feels like a risk to you is a step of faith in His hands. Trust Him when the path is unclear. He's already there, preparing the way, turning your unknowns into moments of divine purpose. God's faithfulness is your foundation. Through every trial, every doubt, every moment of waiting, He remains true. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, he didn't know if he'd survive, but he knew God was faithful, and God shut the lions' mouths, proving His power. Your life is filled with moments of God's faithfulness. Times He provided, healed, or guided you when you least expected it. Reflect on those moments. They're reminders that God never fails. His faithfulness isn't shaken by your circumstances or your doubts. It's a promise that holds you steady. Find joy in knowing that the God who was faithful yesterday is faithful today and will be tomorrow. His love never wavers and His plan never fails. You were created with intention. Your life isn't random. God designed you with a unique purpose only you can fulfill. The enemy will try to convince you that you don't matter, that your story is insignificant. But that's a lie. Jeremiah was called by God before he was even born, set apart for a divine mission. Your talents, experiences, even your struggles are part of God's plan. You don't need to be someone else to make a difference. Whether you're serving quietly or leading boldly, your life has impact. Embrace who God made you to be. Stop comparing yourself to others. Your purpose isn't about fame or recognition. It's about glorifying God. Trust Him to use your unique gifts to touch the world in ways only you can. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Holding on to hurt or anger keeps you trapped, but letting go sets you free. When Joseph faced his brothers who betrayed him, he could have chosen revenge. Instead, he forgave, saying, "You meant it for harm, but God meant it for good." Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but it releases its power over you. It's not about excusing wrong. It's about trusting God to heal your heart. When you forgive, you open the door to peace. God sees your wounds and offers His grace to mend them. Let go of bitterness, even when it's hard. Trust that God can turn your pain into a story of redemption. By forgiving, you reflect His love and step closer to the freedom He has for you. Trials test your faith, but they also build it. When life feels like it's falling apart, it's tempting to give up, yet God uses these moments to strengthen you. Job faced unimaginable loss, his wealth, family, and health. But he refused to curse God. His faith, though shaken, held firm, and God restored him beyond his wildest dreams. Your trials aren't meant to destroy you. They're shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to God. When the storm rages, stand firm. Cling to God's promises. He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. Every challenge is a chance to grow in faith, to trust God's plan, and to discover His strength within you. You're not defined by your trials, but by how you trust God through them. Trusting God brings freedom. When you let go of worry and fear, you make room for His peace. The world tells you to control everything, to fix every problem yourself, but God invites you to rest in Him. When the disciples panicked in the storm, Jesus calmed the sea with a word. He's just as powerful in your storms. Trusting Him doesn't mean life will be perfect. It means you don't have to carry the weight alone. Let go of the need to know every outcome. God's got it. His wisdom is greater, His plan is better, and His love is unending. When you trust Him fully, you find a freedom that no circumstance can steal, a peace that anchors your soul, no matter what comes your way. God is a restorer. What's broken in your life, dreams, relationships, hope, He can make whole again. The story of Ruth shows this beautifully. After losing her husband and home, she faced a bleak future. Yet, through her faith and obedience, God restored her with a new family and a legacy that led to King David. Your losses don't have the final word. God does. He takes what's shattered and creates something beautiful. Trust Him to mend what's broken in His time. Restoration may not look like you expect, but it will be better than you imagine. God's heart is to heal, renew, and bring you into a future filled with hope. Hold on. He's working to restore what you thought was lost forever. Even in your darkest moments, God's light shines through. When life feels hopeless, when pain overshadows your joy, God is still there, working for your good. Paul and Silas were chained in a prison, yet they sang praises to God. Their faith turned a dungeon into a place of worship, and God set them free. Your hardships don't define you. Your response does. Choose to trust God. Even when the night is long, His light breaks through the darkness, bringing hope where despair once stood. Every tear you've shed, every burden you've carried is seen by Him. He's weaving a story of redemption, turning your darkest moments into testimonies of His grace. Lift your eyes. His light is guiding you to a future brighter than you can imagine. You weren't meant to walk this journey alone. God places people in your life to lift you up, to share your burdens, and to remind you of His love. When Elijah felt defeated, God sent him help through Elisha and others. Your community, friends, family, or even strangers can be God's hands and feet. Lean on those who encourage your faith. Share your struggles and let others pray for you. In turn, be a light for someone else. When you stand together, your faith grows stronger. God uses community to remind you that His love flows through connection. No matter how heavy your load, you don't have to carry it alone. Reach out, trust God's provision, and let His love shine through the people around you. Perseverance turns dreams into reality. Life's challenges may tempt you to quit, but God calls you to keep going. Nehemiah faced opposition while rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, yet he pressed on, trusting God's strength. Every step you take, even when it's hard, is a victory. God sees your effort, your faith, your refusal to give up. He's building something beautiful through your perseverance, a life that reflects His glory. Don't let setbacks define your story. Each moment you choose to keep moving forward, you're aligning with God's plan. Your perseverance isn't just for you. It inspires others to trust God too. Keep going, for the God who started this work, and you will bring it to completion. God's plan is always greater than your own. What you see as chaos, He sees as order. What you see as loss, He sees as opportunity. The story of Lazarus shows this. His death seemed final, but Jesus raised him to life, revealing God's power. Your life is part of a bigger story, one God is writing with care. Every trial, every joy, every moment is a brushstroke in His masterpiece. Trust that He's working, even when you can't see how the pieces fit. His plan is to give you hope, a future, and a purpose that shines His light. Surrender your vision to His, and watch Him turn your ordinary life into an extraordinary testimony of His love and grace. You are called to live boldly for God's purpose. Your life is a gift crafted with divine intention. No trial, no doubt, no fear can stop what God has planned for you. Like Mary, who said yes to God's call despite the unknown. You too can embrace His purpose with courage. Step into each day knowing God is with you, guiding your path. Your story isn't over. Every moment is a chance to live for Him. Trust His timing, His promises, and His love. You were made for this moment, for this purpose, to shine His light in a world that needs it. Live fully, love deeply, and trust God completely. He's writing a story through you that will echo for eternity. If this video inspired you, give it a like and visit our channel for more uplifting stories that will strengthen your faith and ignite your hope.